helping other women and empowering women around the community. I have lived here my whole life. I tell people I'm homegrown. So I guess I'm first generation Warren County, because neither one of my parents were from Warren County. They ended up here and then had me almost 42 years ago. So I've lived here and my whole life, and went to college and came back and decided to dedicate my life to Front Royal and became an elementary school teacher, where I've been teaching now for 20 years here in the community. So my plate was pretty full being an elementary school teacher, and I also married a boy that's homegrown as well. So it's really nice to have all of our family here in Front Royal. But I guess about, 2005, I had my daughter Mia, and she's just the light of our lives. Just very difficult road getting to love her and have her in our life. So we were really excited when we had her. So when she was brand new, I just started using everything non-toxic on her, because I just figured it took me so long to get her, and I just don't want to mess her up. There are plenty more opportunities for me to mess her up, and this is one thing I have control over. And so I decided not to put any toxic lotions or creams or anything on her. And for about a year and a half, I just was buying things at Better Times and Burt's Bees, and there's lots of wonderful products out there that you can buy. Then Kathy Bauer. I met up with Kathy Bauer. I don't know how many of you know Kathy. She is I consider her our local aromatherapist guru. So she introduced me to essential oils in about 2006. So I bought a little jar of lavender essential oil, and I went down to the health food store and I got some cocoa butter and some shea butter, and I melted it down and put some of that lavender in there and started using that on Mia instead of lotion. And every time we would go to a family event or anything, I would always have my little jar and tell my parents or my in-laws that this is what they had to use on her. And they started loving it, and some friends started loving it, and it became our body butter, which I have samples here for everybody to see what it has evolved into. It definitely isn't the same product it was back in 2006. So, long story, I guess, even longer, because it's now almost 10 years since my very first show. In 2008, I decided to whip up a bunch of jars of the body butter and go to Skyline High School for their annual bazaars. Actually, their very first bazaar that they ever did at Christmas time. And I had literally 10 of these little jars lined up, and I was like, they were like my babies. I was like, oh my gosh, what if people don't like them? What if, but I sold every single one of them. And that's really where things started to begin for us. And then the Front Royal Farmers Market, the following season in 2009, started up, and they invited me to come and participate in that. And at that time, I only had body butter, and I had liquid soap. And so I went down to the farmer's market, and it's really difficult to sell body butter in the summer because it has a melting point of 76 degrees. Because I use cocoa butter and shea butter and coconut oil to make it. So I thought, I need to make something else. I started researching and developing the lotion recipe. And it took me about 2 years to actually develop the lotion recipe to be what it is today. And it has remained the same recipe for the past 7 years, since about 2010. So I did the Front Royal Farmers Market for a couple years, and I met some wonderful women from the Women's Resource Center who encouraged me. I think Beth was probably the one who did encourage me to apply for the Dare to Dream grant. Because everything I do is out of my home, and all the funding comes from my own personal, life, and then whatever I make from the business. So I applied for that grant, and I received it, and it was such a blessing because it gave me some seed money to begin evolving my labels into something that was a little bit more professional and embodied the I guess the theme that I always wanted it to feel like an old apothecary. I wanted people to have something that they could sit on their counter and it would look like very vintage and make them feel like they had something special. And in order for me to do that, I needed some funding to be able to make that happen. So I did. I bought the Adobe Illustrator program with that money, and I bought some new packaging and some other materials to help turn the product into what you see today, which is vastly different than what it was that very first go around. I have these little mason jars with like a printed label from, you know, my inkjet printer. I also bought a high quality laser printer with that money from the Dare to Dream grant, which I still use today as well. So that was, I think that was 6, 7, 8 years ago I got that grant. It's been a while. So then as we started to become a bigger company, we decided to take on an additional farmers market where we traveled down to the Plains, Virginia. There's this wonderful barn off of 66, and every Sunday they have a little farmers market. And we have our own stall in that barn. That's our stall. We're there every single Sunday, and we have been every year for the past 5 years. So that's opened up doors to being in some different stores. I've got product in Warrenton, I've got product in Charlottesville, I've got product in the Apple House, I have some product in Maryland, I have product in Woodbridge. So that's really, really kind of neat as well. So now today we go to Charlottesville every Saturday, leave at 3:30 in the morning, get back about 3:30 in the afternoon. For the farmers market down there, which is, I don't know if you've ever been to Charlottesville's farmers market on a Saturday, it's worth the trip. There's over 100 vendors there, and it's just absolutely amazing. And then we go to the Plains on Sundays, and then Monday through Friday I teach. So I'm getting up at 5 o'clock every morning. I make soap and lotion and creams and stuff before I go to work, and then I come home from work and I finish up what I'm doing, what I started in the morning. And I work 7 days a week from April until December. And then I have like January, February, March off, which is nice. And I still do one event every year, annually, at least one. That's just me. It's our annual open house where I get all my local customers are able to come and see us, and we provide food and you know, we visit with everybody, and it's just a really great event. So that's in December, if you guys ever want to come. But a little bit about our products. I brought some ingredients to share with you. Something that I wanted to continue to do was to provide women and men and children and everybody with a product that they could feel safe putting on their body, because your skin is the largest organ on your body, and it soaks up everything. And with all the toxins and in the air and in our food and everything, you do have control over what you put on your body. So everything I use that goes into our soaps and lotions is organic, and you gotta smell it. It's amazing. This is organic cocoa butter. I'm gonna pass it around, and it smells just incredible. And I think that's what sets our products apart, because every single lotion and cream that I make and butter has that organic cocoa butter in it, and it rounds out the different essential oils or blends, whatever the fragrance is that I'm using. It softens it and it makes it truly unique. This is organic shea butter. Has a little bit of a nutty aroma. And these are all butters that you can just use straight on your skin. You don't have to cut it with anything. And this is coconut oil. Probably all familiar with coconut oil. You could do everything with coconut oil. And this doesn't have a fragrance, but I do use organic sugar. That's not where the name comes from. We'll tell you about our name. When we first started the business, Little Sugar Naturals, before we became LLC, it was Little Sugar Naturals. And pull that up. So you can see my family here. That little girl is the Little Sugar. And ever since she was born, we called her the Little Sugar. And our whole family, everybody called her the Little Sugar. Sometimes she was a little salty, but especially when she was 3. But for the first part of her life, that's what we always called her, was the Little Sugar. So when I started making this for her and deciding to share with others, excuse me, I called the business Little Sugar Naturals because it was all about her. It was all for her. Everything was always tested on her. Everything was tested on my husband and my friends, and there were some really bad batches of product that these people had to go through. But so when we decided, I believe it was 2015, we decided we wanted to become an LLC. And at that point, I had already started making the bar soap, of which everybody's going to get one today. So this is a half bar. These are the full bars. But everybody's going to get a bar soap and our business card, which is a lip butter. But when I started making the bar soap, which it's a cool little story in itself, I make this in a crock pot, and I use the hot process method, which is more like how our ancestors made it, because they didn't have 6 to 8 weeks to wait for their soap to cure. And I didn't want to wait 6 to 8 weeks for my soap to cure because I needed something on that table at the farmer's market that would sustain the heat and be there every week. So I needed to make it fast. So I learned how to make hot process soap. I make it in a crock pot. And it's coconut oil, shea butter, sunflower oil, and organic sugar. And a lot of people think that's where the name came from, but it's not. It's just a little sugar. But I do use organic sugar because, have you ever heard of SLS, sodium lauryl sulfate? Yes. One of those yucky chemicals. Okay. It's what makes your toothpaste bubble and your soap bubble and shampoo bubble. Sugar does the same thing when it reacts with coconut oil. So that's one of the things I learned when I was learning how to make soap. So these have a really nice big lather and they're totally safe. So we decided when we wanted to do the LLC, we needed a name that would be a little bit more synonymous with what we actually did, which at the time and now still the biggest main product we sell is soap. I sell probably between 200 and 250 bars of soap every week. So we are definitely a soap company. I still make all the other products, but soap is our #1 seller. People come back week after week and buy the soap, and it's really special. I love the soap. So yeah, that's why we are now the LSN soap company. Another reason is people kept coming up to the table at the farmer's market thinking that we sold baked goods and wondering, you know, they would look at the soap and think, well, what is that? It's sugar. You can't eat it. It's not going to hurt you, but it's not going to taste very good at all. So I redid the whole website. Everything kind of took an overhaul when we went LLC. And so if you ever visit our website, you can kind of see, if you go to the gallery, you can see how things looked prior to our transformation. That's what it looks like now. And then, so, okay. So this was the original label. That was just something I printed off my computer. And then we kind of turned it into the white bottles, and that's when you can kind of see how the transformation took over a little bit. Oh, sorry. But the gallery's fun to look at, and it's fun for me to look at because it kind of takes me back to, and I can kind of see the whole transformation over the course of what'll be next year, 10 years of officially being in business, which is pretty phenomenal. It's completely a family affair. My husband does the Charlottesville market every Saturday, and then I do the Sunday market, and nobody helps me make anything, but that's okay. We don't need Colin to make the soap. He can sell the soap, and then I'll make the soap. But the things that I make are the soap, obviously, lip butters, and And then I do make a bug spray. I do make a fresh spray. Everything that I make came out of some sort of necessity. And the fresh spray is a funny story because I have this really big, giant golden doodle dog who's just this really sweet, goofy dog that likes to go outside and roll in everything that smells really, really bad. Either dead or whatever. You can use your imagination. He rolls in it. And he did that one day, and I needed him not to smell like he did. And so I just went inside and I took some essential oils and some distilled water and I just put it in a spray bottle and sprayed him down. And now we have fresh spray. So this is the body butter. You can see it kind of looks like cocoa butter, but it has a consistency of whipped cream. So it's really soft. It turns to an oil as soon as you touch it. So it's great for massage. I love the body butter. I do make a salt scrub, a face cream, a body cream, lotion, body oils, and liquid soap. And that is our lineup. So I'm just really grateful for, the community that supports me, which they do. I get invited to lots of events and lots of places to talk and share my story, which is really awesome. I kind of look at it in awe a lot of times from where we started to where we are now, because this wasn't the plan. Sometimes, just like you were saying about following your bliss, sometimes you don't know what your bliss is until you dip your toe into some unknown territory and you decide, I think this is what I want to do. So I still love teaching. I'm a teacher at heart, and so I'm not going to stop being a teacher. But we're going to continue to grow our business and just do it as a team. And so I'm just really grateful for the Dare to Dream grant, because who knows if this would have been something that I would have been able to sustain had it not been for that grant. And I'm just eternally grateful to the Women's Resource Center for all the work that you all do for the community and for the women in our community. Because the more you're able to lean on people and organizations that support you, the more you're able to thrive. So I think that's all I have. Do you have any questions?
I'd like you to point out about, sorry, I'm just
Yes.
raise my hand and talk. That's not what you do in your classroom, right? I wanted you to point out about private labeling. If people have a wedding or an event, I know we had it for real estate, for giving some clients. Yeah.
I do private labeling. I do it for the Apple House, and I've done it for Team Waller. So they place an order, and I will recreate the label to include your logo, any information that you want on it. I do lots of weddings and baby showers. So the only thing that I ask is that I get to keep my little logo somewhere, and it can even be small on the back. But yeah, we do private labeling for stores and for anybody that wants to do something for an event. We definitely are willing to do a private label for sure. Any other questions? Yes.
I think your website is very professional.
Thank you.
Very artistic. Clearly, you have the touch. But I'm just curious, because you're out there kind of pounding the pavement. You're doing these farmers markets. You're doing your annual open house.
Mm-hmm.
How do your online sales compare? Do you have like a regular business that you've been able to build online?
I do not. I do, but I do not invest as much time as I probably could or should to build an online business. My online business is mainly for my customers that can't find me or can't get to me when they need something. I do have online customers ranging all the way from Alaska down to Texas and down to Florida who just found me on a web search. So I have product all over the country from the online business. So it's a couple times a week I get an online order, and it varies whether or not it's an existing customer or a new customer. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
As a working mother, how do you do it? You're telling us your schedule, and I'm just like, wow. Yeah, it's a lot of coffee.
I do like coffee. It's hard. and I definitely depend on my husband. We're definitely a team when it comes to that. We did just remodel our whole kitchen to support the business. So we as a family spend a lot of time in the kitchen together while I'm working. There's never a day that I'm not making soap. I make soap every single day. And it's just become a way of life for us. If I'm ever sitting on the couch, my husband's like, what's wrong? Is everything okay? You know? Because that's what we do. And so I just wake up really early before anybody wakes up so that it doesn't take away from family time. And then my daughter, now she's 11, so she's involved in some after school activities. So I get to drive her to those, and we spend time doing those things too. I just get up early and I stay up late. And then I really look forward to January and February and March. It is like my summer. It's like my time off, my vacation time. And that's usually where January I usually take off completely unless I have online orders. But January is really slow because people have already stocked up in December and they don't need anything really. So February comes along and I'm starting to get the itch a little bit, and I start playing around in the kitchen and I'll make new things and I'll mess around with the label or whatever. So I start being creative again in February, but I'm not back in the kitchen, every single day until the first weekend in April. Yeah. So, any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
You look incredible, and your skin looks, for as much as you do, you don't seem tired.
Worn out. Thank
So,
you.
what essential oils are your favorites that you do?
Myself, personally?
Either one, yeah, sure.
Well, for one thing, I think one of the biggest things, I eat Juice Plus like crazy, if you've ever heard of Juice Plus, and that's probably why I'm super alert a lot. But for essential oils, I use Young Living, so I like a lot of their blends. But daily, I use the body butter, and I use the face cream, and we haven't used a traditional lotion or soap since 2006. My daughter hasn't had commercial lotion or soap on her skin since then either. So I think it's stay hydrated. It's working. I go to bed early unless I'm making stuff. I usually go to bed early, but I wake up early. So just trying to take care of myself.
Can you reiterate again where your products are available locally?
They are locally available at the Admiral House, depending on their inventory. And then you're going to get on one of the products is my website and my email.
Okay.
And you can call me and I can make anything you want. So I make myself pretty available to my local customers. I will find you. I'll deliver to you during the school year. I have a lot of customers swing by AS Roads, and I'll leave their bag in the office, and the office staff knows exactly what it is. We got a few times a week usually somebody's coming by and picking something up. So I will meet you and get you what you need. It just might take me a week to get it made if I don't have it already made. But as far as stores go, we were in Gathered, which was this amazing little store on Main Street. But she's no longer there. She probably had the largest inventory. Yeah. So, any other questions?
Can I just say that if you're getting your crock pot going every morning, your house must be an aromatherapy heaven.
It does sound good.
Do you find that are you advising people, like say they need something calmative?
Oh, sure.
Use the lavender, or wake me up in the morning, the citrus, that type of. So
yeah, when people come to my tables and they're asking me what, from a relationship, then I'll learn more about them and what they need. And perfect example is the bergamot grapefruit is the lotion that I'm always telling people, or the soap to get.
Yeah, I find citrus is definitely
it wakes you up, and it's just so lovely and beautiful. But when I'm making stuff, I have 5 crock pots that go at the same time. And so there's a lot of smells. There's a lot of smells.
Are the lotions made in that also in the crock pot or just the soap?
No, the lotions, it's an emulsification, so I'll heat a thing of oils, and then water, distilled water, and then whatever additives, and then you blend them together with an immersion blender, and then it has to sit and cool, and it takes about 6 to 8 hours for it to completely cool before I can add the essential oils or whatever fragrance I'm using, and then I put it in the jars or the bottles. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
What do you use for the bug spray?
Lemongrass, lavender, citronella, vanilla, and cedarwood, and a blend of coconut oil.
Do you find that it works like for ticks and everything too?
Yes.
Or?
You have to use it, when you're using natural things, you have to use it like you would sunscreen. You need to reapply often, but if you do that, yes, it works really, really well. We spray it around our ankles, especially in our feet. We live in the woods, so as far as like a tick can fall out of the sky and end up in your head, and not much you can do about that. But we also burn the bug spray in a tea light burner, and then you put the light underneath and you burn it on the top, and it'll heat diffuse. Normally you are not advised to heat essential oils because they lose their therapeutic properties when you're using them topically or when you're ingesting them. But when you're trying to just get rid of the bugs, you want to heat diffuse it because it gives you this aura, a bubble of protection, and the bugs fly away.